The resource results were the 12th largest nickel sulphide resource globally, and we've only explored, that's off less than 20% of the structure that we have at Crawford. So we think we've got potential to make it larger. And again, where we're going to focus is on those areas where we've seen the higher grade. My view is we're going to be hitting a nickel super cycle sometime in the mid 2020s, and so we want to make sure that we're as ready as possible.
Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. First of all, thank you very much for watching this video. If you like it, please give us a thumbs up and do leave us your comments. We try to get back to absolutely everyone. And if you haven't already done so, please click the button in the corner of the screen to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to see more videos like this, click the notification bell. Today we spoke with Mark Selby, CEO of Canada Nickel Corporation. They just went public last week. Also put out an announcement about their resource, quite large, 11th largest in the world apparently. We also talked to him from PDAC. He says the numbers are down by 30% there. I wonder what the impact of that is going to be on business. Let's hear what Mark has to say anyway. Hi Mark, how are you, sir?
Good to see you again, Matthew.
Now we spoke last week. You went public. How did that go?
It's good. The transfer agent mechanics in the background took a little while to get people's shares in their account, but the nice thing is we did trade a bit, and the stock was up 250% on the first trading day. So that's a great way to start. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens today.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now you're at PDAC, about to go through 3 days of marketing, shaking hands, meeting people, etc., etc. Tell me, what's it like there? Because I've heard various reports about attendance levels. What's your sense of what's going on there?
Yeah, I know what's interesting, and again, there's a lot less shaking hands and a lot more bumping elbows.
True.
So no, there really has been an impact. I know one of the guys who came in from out of town. Yeah, he's staying at a hotel in Toronto. He just asked him, he's a consultant. He wanted to was curious, and so they basically had about a third of the people not show up. Basically canceled the reservations.
Wow.
From a few weeks ago, and I co-chair one of the larger introductory sessions at the conference that's held in the big room, and I would say there's probably 20-25% less people than there have been in past years for that session. So. There's definitely been an impact.
So clearly coronavirus, people are nervous about traveling at the moment. I think there's a lot of news going around. Okay, so that's having an impact.
One of the speakers on the panel, she works for one of the big banks, and they were basically, she did it remotely because they have a only essential travel policy going right now. So. Right.
Okay. Well, I'm sure that's going to impact some people's ability to do business or certainly catch up with, whether it be strategic partners, funders, whatever. But I guess we'll hear more of that as the week carries on. But let's get down to business here. So we spoke to you last week. You went public. Well done, 250% increase. But let's see how that goes this week. You also released some numbers around your resource. So tell us about that.
Yeah. No, we were very happy. Again, we've been drilling since September, and so the resource results were the 12th largest nickel sulphide resource globally. The nice thing for that in terms of technically what's there is we've talked about this higher grade core showing up in the drilling, and the nice thing is from a resource perspective, there's a higher grade core running right through the middle of it. So again, the Dumont's the closest comparison, and so this higher grade core, we've got 260 million tons out of 900. That's basically about 15% better than Dumont. And then we've got some additional grade shells, and we've got about 100 million tons at 0.34. So again, the key thing with that higher grade core is that when you go to get this into production eventually, is that if you're able to mine that material first, that means just a lot more cash flow right out of the gate, and that just helps the economics, and helps you run the business.
Well, yeah, for sure. So I guess you're going to have to work out: are you going to be able to mine that first, and you'll presumably be working on that over the next few weeks and months. But what is? I mean, and also some pretty big numbers out, right? So what does that actually mean? I mean, how should investors interpret that? What's the, I hear the numbers, but so what? What does it mean for me?
Yeah, no, the key thing, again, because a lot of mining companies just like add ounces or pounds, for the sake of adding ounces and pounds.
Yeah.
No, for, the key thing here, and what I said the other day, is in the market today, particularly, is you see, companies that have elephant scale projects that can attract, major mining companies or attract, downstream partners to come into it. So, those, a lot of companies in Colombia and Ecuador right now, with copper and copper gold discoveries, being a nickel sulphide project of this scale, I believe right now in the market we're in for EVs and the majors wanting to get exposure to battery metals, that kind of a scale deposit should get BHP's attention, should get Teck's attention, if they want to get meaningful exposure to battery metals, nickel, and a quantity of cobalt that we have.
But what do you mean? You talked about elephant hunting before, but where are you in the scale of things? Give me a sense of, like, is this like, number one in the world or in the top 100? What?
Yeah. Right now, depending on what, we're basically around the 11th largest, and we've only explored, that's off less than 20% of the structure that we have at Crawford. So, we think we've got, potential to make it larger. And again, where we're going to focus is on those areas where we've seen, the higher grade, the higher grade. And so we're going to take the what we learned about where the high grade is at the one place we drilled off and see if we can find some more of it. We've got some ideas in terms of where that may be sitting in the rest of the structure. And so, because again, we added, the thing I'm also quite proud of is our team added that resource for about $1 a ton. You literally, because the scale of most nickel sulfide deposits is quite small. Yes, they're high grade, but you don't find many tons for a lot of drilling. And for a lot of companies, they're spending literally almost $1,000 a ton to add resource and reserve.
Is that an extreme example, or what's the sort of average?
No. I would say, like, I think in Western Australia, you're looking at hundreds of dollars per ton, of exploration costs to define resource. So again, because they're trying to find little small nickel lenses, that might be today quite deep. So you're drilling, again, you might be drilling 500-meter holes, 800-meter holes, hoping to hit 10 meters of massive sulfide nickel, where we, get to drill a 500-meter hole, 450 meters of it, have assays that end up in a resource model.
Right. Okay. So that's going to give you, again, we're all, as investors, we're all going to be interested in, at what point do you start being able to, and I know it's early days, but what point do you start being able to put some numbers or thoughts around the economics of this? So I'm hearing it's large. You're finding, in terms of the contained nickel sulfide, 11th largest in the world. I mean, that's pretty good straight out of the gate. It's cheap, but at what point does that start converting into meaningful numbers for us as shareholders?
Yeah, so that's the key. I mean, what we wanted was again, we wanted to work this on an accelerated time frame, given our understanding of this type of deposits. And so, this resource and the results we have, are of the scale and again, of the potential that we're going to move that resource right into PEA stage. I'm literally meeting today, with one of the leading engineering firms, to start scoping out, to kick off that work. And we'd look to kick that off in April and have a, PEA done, for the fall, for this coming year, which again, we'd roll right into a feasibility study from there. So, again, from 6 months from drilling, we're going to be able to start putting, putting numbers around this, which is is very fast.
Okay, and how quickly you mentioned the feasibility study as well, and clearly, but what's your time frame on that? Because people start, the more you do, the more notice people take. And when you say accelerated time frame, I'm interested in, do you mean it, or is this the usual long drawn out process? And you guys
we're talking 6 years from now, hopefully not. Yeah, project, because it's in construction. Yeah, no, we're looking to, we'll have the feasibility study target would be the end of 2021. Right. And then a 2-year build from there. So, that's the time frame, we're going to be working towards.
Well, you can get, you're suggesting there that you could get financed off the back of a feasibility study. Yeah. Again, in the kind of market we're in now, in the market we're expecting for battery metals, when you have, the head of BHP saying, we need more future facing metals, we need more nickel and more cobalt, I think when we get to that point, we should be seeing the interest from the major mining companies and the industry downstream players. Okay, that's pretty big statement. So you're saying end of 2021, you could have a feasibility study ready. You will have been having and would hope to conclude financing discussions around that point, is what you're telling me? Okay. And then there's a two-year build out. So you when you say accelerated, you do mean accelerated, and you're hoping to hit this cycle. But there's a lot of ifs and buts between now and then, obviously, right?
Oh yeah. Nothing's guaranteed in this space, but again, my view is we're going to be hitting a nickel super cycle sometime in the mid 2020s, right. And so we want to make sure that we're as ready as possible to take advantage of that super cycle.
Okay, and when we talked previously, you talked about this kind of, and I think you mentioned at the beginning of this, high-grade core, which you would look to focus on initially, just in terms of the ability to positively affect the numbers out of the gate again. Is that what do you know today about your ability to be able to do that?
Within the release and the presentation, there's a slide with a series of grade shells to show that how contiguous that material is, and again, it starts up at surface. So we won't know exactly how much we'll be able to pull in early, but based on the geometry of where it's sitting, it looks quite promising on that basis. So and again, 98, we've got 98 million tons at 0.34. That's basically 8 to 10 years of ore for a large, the kind of scale mill that we'd be looking at for this type of deposit. So
okay, exciting times. Well, look, Mark, thanks for that update. I just wanted to catch up on it because I'm always interested in, I mentioned battery metals at the moment, and obviously there's one of the newer stories in the marketplace, and there's been a lot of debate, which you've helped stimulate actually with your education series, Insight series. So I do appreciate that. Look, let us know. I might just call you at the end of this week and sort of see how PDAC has turned out, because obviously those sorts of numbers of non-attendees is huge and quite meaningful. What do you think the wider impact is? Do you think it's going to be short term in terms of the whole coronavirus? Because obviously last week was a huge reset in the market. I mean, huge reset. Do you think that was always coming, or do you think that's coronavirus linked?
Well, we needed a correction in the marketplace. I mean, so many stocks have just done, this for a continuous period, and so we were overdue for a correction. I think the coronavirus, has given people an excuse to take some profit. It is having an impact. I mean, the Chinese PMI came out over the weekend, and they were in the 25 and 28 range, sort of the lowest ever recorded. So, it is having a physical impact today, and I think it will continue, through this quarter as it kind of rolls around the globe. We will see that, but I think, once, as long as we don't get some highly virulent evolution of that disease, so it starts killing lots of people, it's basically a really bad flu right now. So, I think, so we'll have a quarter or two of impact. There'll be a lot of government stimulus, particularly in China, to help sort of restart the economy after that shock. So, again, from a nickel perspective, I think it, pushes out, the recovery. I was looking for, the summer, fall. It probably pushes it out, another 3 to 6 months. So maybe by the end of the year, early next year, we'll start to see, prices come back at that point.
Right. And do you think this, what are the other sort of, I'm just interested because, you always have an opinion on these things, is around some of the smaller companies who are perhaps struggling for cash, to attract cash, who were struggling in terms of share price, etc. They've been hit pretty badly. Do you think there's going to be some joint venture activity? There's some takeovers, some M&A, some mergers, whatever, pharma. What's the impact of what's been going on recently? Because in the gold space, you got producers producing cash, making money, losing 25% of their market cap like in a week, and what's going on?
It would be a good time for companies to make some acquisitions. And again, you do have a whole group of companies, both, the major mining companies are announcing, BHP had second largest dividend in its history, recently. So, they have the cash, to make some moves. Whether, they'll be aggressive enough to take advantage of the sell-off in the market. Again, those are the times when you should be buying. but a lot of companies just don't have the, to step in there when the market's falling. So again, I would like to think that's going to happen. I think we might get 1 or 2 deals done, but I don't think there'll be much activity. People will want to see the market bottom, see the market recover, and at that point in time, start to step in and look at asset acquisitions at that time.
It'll be interesting. I'm very keen to see what happens over the next couple of weeks, a month or so, because there's a few companies I think were on vapor before this happened. So we shall see. Always good to have a nice spring clean. Right, Mark, thanks very much for your time today. I do appreciate that. Good luck with PDAC this week. I hope you don't catch anything.
No, thank you, sir. Yeah, there you go, the elbow. There you are.